One of the main topics here at Gamelab 2015 have been education in video games, and probably the highlight speaker for that has been Gonzalo Frasca. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
You have your lecture yesterday. What did you share with young developers about making video games for learning and education?
Well, actually, I mean, it was actually a panel, and it was as good as it gets. I was able to handpick and invite some of the people I admire the most in the field. So we basically discussed for an hour with Rovio's Mighty Eagle, Peter Westervaca, with Jordan Shapiro, who's a columnist about games education at Forbes, and with John Battista Wynn, who has created Dragonbox. Dragonbox Algebra, one of the most impressive learning games that's available right now. And I mean, video games and education have always been around, and now kind of trendy. But what we really wanted to do is, like, rather than all these panels and talks usually focus on, okay, why play is so important, we wanted to go a bit deeper on marketing challenges, on how to reach parents and educators and administrators. Because the thing is that even if you make a great game, unlike any other product in the market, this is the only one where the player doesn't make the purchase decision. You have to go through somebody else rather than going to the kids, and this is something that has to be done for the kids. So one of the main points that we talk is the central role of the player. There is this fantasy that technology is going to eliminate the teacher, but we have to focus on the player and the relationship on the teacher. The video game is not like a school in a box. It's just a tool, a powerful tool that can help us learn new stuff. Like Dragonbox Algebra, I mean, an independent study from the University of Washington showed that game is 20 times more effective than learning algebra in high school. Not twice, 20. Like 96% of the players learn the basics of algebra after an hour and a half. I mean, if that's not, I'm not even going to say the future of education. That's the present. Those are tools that are very hard to make. You got to be really humble and smart to do that. But you really hit the jackpot in a moment where globally kids are wasting their time and suffering in schools because they cannot connect to a system that was built for the 19th century and they're in the 21st century.
How do you manage to communicate that, to reach the parents, to reach the kids, to reach the system, and to try and explain that this is a good thing, that this is a better thing than traditional way?
Well, it's education reform. It's a tough topic, and it's very challenging. But I think, again, you gotta focus on the player. If you show, I was actually with John Battista back in Uruguay, where I'm from, in a school, and we handed 30 tablets with to the kids, and they spent a couple 10-year-old kids who are not supposed to know anything about algebra because that's something that you learn when you're 14, right? And that's the craziest thing about school. I mean, and they were sharing and working through the challenges together and teaching each other. And when adults see that happening, they go like, wow. I mean, it's like having never seen fast, effective learning happening before. They go like, wow. So that's something that when parents witness that, when teachers witness that, either live or through video, if you go to YouTube and see like 7-year-old kids doing something that they're not supposed to learn for the next 7 years, then you go like, okay, well, maybe, just maybe, we've been doing teaching in not such a great way.
So maybe the first thing would be reaching the schools rather than the parents, and then the schools trying to understand, and then the parents will take it as part of education.
Well, you gotta go through all the channels at the same time, but again, it's like, it's very easy. I mean, this is a topic that scares adults. I mean, the future of your kids, it's scary as hell, because the world has a lot of challenges and it can be tough, and everybody wants the best for the kids, and we have this tendency of overprotecting, right? and most schools in the planet are designed for you not to fail. Like the ideal school progression is that you go and do like an exercise and it's perfect, and then the next one and you get a 10 over 10, and nobody learns anything by excelling at first at everything. And that's something that we can learn from video games. The great thing about video games is that we game designers, it's not that we're super smart or that we are better than teachers. We have to work together with teachers. But because of our job, if we fail to explain how to play our games, complex games, in a very short amount of time, we lose the attention of the player and the player moves somewhere else. So that's our superpower. And it's like an evolutionary thing that tutorials evolved that way because survival of the teachiest, right? If you don't teach effectively, we are out of jobs. And the thing about games also is that they give you feedback immediately. Imagine like you do an exercise at school, and in the best case scenario, you will be getting your feedback tomorrow or in next week. In the video game, it takes half a second. And I said, okay, it wasn't through this path, I'll take another one. Yeah, so iteration. And also, in our culture, play, not just video games, play in general is one of the very few cultural spaces where it's okay to fail, where we tolerate failure. And I mean, I haven't never heard any kid saying, I'm not good for games, right? Yes, you can get frustrated. Yes, you can lose points or stuff, but you keep playing because you know it's something like breathing or walking or thinking that you can do. I have heard plenty of kids saying, I'm not good for mathematics, I'm not good for language, I'm not good for reading. So it's not that we have to trick them into realizing that they are the same thing. It's as adults that we have to realize it's the same thing. And it's about it. I mean, it's not that hard to understand, it's hard to implement. It's like the diet. I mean, I can teach you how to lose weight, but of course it's really hard to why? Because we have all this, for centuries, or actually thousands of years, we have taught ourselves a way of teaching. The problem is the world has radically changed in the last few decades, and we had a world where information was very scarce, and now any kid with Google has access of tons of information. What we have to teach is how to handle that information, how to verify the sources, how to build something with that. So, and games, I mean, if I'm playing a video game and I get stuck, nobody feels bad about asking a friend or asking Google. But if you're doing an exercise in school and you feel stuck and you ask somebody else, you're cheating and you get punished. I mean, any adult working who doesn't know how to figure something out, you're supposed to ask the expert everywhere except in school. How wrong is that?
So if you want to capture the attention of the kids, of course you have to be up to date regarding technology. You've mentioned Dragonbox, of course, and there's this Angry Birds project for coding, etc. But what about new technologies, both hardware and software? For example, the virtual reality or Minecraft, which is being used in schools as well. What do you think about that?
Well, as I said, I come from Uruguay. It's a 3.5 million people country in South America, and we're the only country that we have the state buys a free computer to kids. Every single boy and girl gets a free computer and free Wi-Fi in the whole country. And so it's a great place for experimenting with this kind of technology. Now we're giving 3D printers and robots to schools and seeing what's happening. And I'm talking about any kind of kid. It doesn't matter if their kids are rich or poor, and especially boys and girls. I mean, the impact in gender, usually, like even in families that already had a computer, usually the brothers are bossy and telling their sisters, how you're doing it wrong. But now that their sisters have their own computer, they can do whatever they want. So it's more about getting access to the technology and doing whatever you can with it, rather than marrying yourself with a new thing. I mean, like, I'm sort of a platform agnostic. Yes, like robotics allow you also to get the immediate feedback in order to build something, and then it moves or it flashes or something, and you can build upon that because of that immediate feedback. The future, is it virtual reality, video games, Minecraft? The future is a system where we trust teachers. We have the smartest people teaching with the best possible education, and we trust them to test, improvise, try new stuff, see what works and what doesn't. We have this fear, parents specifically, that's like, I don't want teachers to experiment with my kids. Well, education is an experiment, and guess what? It's been failing for long now. So the worst case that can happen, I mean, imagine at work, you work on a project, it sucks, you move to the next project. It's not the end of the world. With kids, it's the same. I mean, and actually, you learn a lot from your failures. So we gotta accept that failure is part of our life, and it's the only way to level up. You do not level up. Imagine how boring would be a game where you never like lose any lives and you just pass through level from level to level. That'd be the most boring game ever. Well, a lot of adults think that school should be like that. And the other thing is that we're overprotecting kids. We have this idea that the school is a separate place from the real world, and so we're going to train you, but you're not going to do real world work until you're ready, okay? And that's insane. I mean, we're trying to protect kids from the real world, kids who have YouTube channels with more viewers than most, I mean, poets have readers. Kids who are sharing constantly online with their peers and stuff. So we're gonna build projects with them in school, and we're gonna share it with the world, with their parents, and it's okay. Like, it's not something that you're not supposed to do projects and then store them in the teacher's drawer forever. No, sharing with the world, get feedback, get tough feedback. Like saying, hey, that sucks. Learn how to handle that kind of feedbacks, because that's what growing up and learning is. So it's, again, we can't wait for the perfect system. There is no perfect system. It's a matter of attitude, and it's a matter of we adults overcoming our fears. That's it. It's not that games are going to save education. It's that learning and games are both the same thing. And it's not that we have to trick kids into having fun. The opposite of fun is not boredom. I mean, the opposite of boredom is not fun. The opposite of boredom is being challenged. We have to challenge kids. They have to face tough problems, and if they overcome them, then they're gonna have fun, and they're gonna learn. That's what it is.
What's project Ludology about, and what's Okidoko about?
Okay. Well, Ludology is my old blog. I mean, I game developer and an academic. So actually, I did my PhD research in Denmark at ITU, and
there's a guy from Uruguay ends up in Denmark.
It's a long story. It does involve beer and video games, but it's a long story. But the thing is that I was lucky enough to get into video game research and academics at the very early stages. So I got to get a front seat and witness how, well, games took over the academic world, and that's great. So Ludology used to be one of the very first blogs focusing on research, academics of games. Thankfully, I don't have to write it anymore, because there's so many other more talented people doing it. But at the time, I mean, it was kind of needed. Okidoko is my second game studio. For 10 years, I ran Powerful Robot Games based in Uruguay, a game studio focusing on animation and games for kids. So we worked for Disney, Pixar, Cartoon Network, Warner Brothers, and there was a moment where I was not being challenged enough. So after a decade, I shut it down, took a 2-year sabbatical, and now I became a volunteer teacher. And I'm like, learning games suck big time. And I said, okay, I got really inspired by Dragon Box. I mean, by Jean-Baptiste. We became friends and then started collaborating. I said, well, actually, the philosophy of Okidoko is not that making math games in order to help kids learn math. It is one of our goals, but it's a secondary goal. The main goal is to diminish the frustration that math generates in kids, because in August we're going to be launching a very simple long addition game, and also we have another game that teaches the procedure of long division. 99.9% of the games are about training and drilling, which is it's important, but very few teach you the procedure and how. Very few of the games are about learning, not about practicing. And my goal is like, these are games focused on from 6 to 9-year-olds, and that's the moment where kids start, when they get stuck in school in front of a math problem, they start thinking, I'm an idiot, I'm not good for this, I'm bad for math. And that's what freezes you and stops you on your tracks. And this is very important to me because I personally relate to it. I mean, I now know I'm not stupid, but when I was in high school, I started feeling stupid because I didn't know how to handle these problems. And I see with my students at high school, I see them like completely like with no exit. Like when you get stuck on a puzzle in a game and you cannot find anybody to help you. Well, as a game designer, I know that if my players get stuck on a level, it's not their fault, it's mine, right? So we need to make games to help players, not just to feel smart, to realize they're smart. We humans, we are smart. We love solving problems. That's what we are in this planet for. So let's help each other to realize our full potential. There's nothing more important. I mean, medicine deals with the present, economy deals with the present. Education is one of the only areas that focus on the future. I mean, if we want a better life for our children, we gotta put our best resources and our best people on education. And we game developers, we can contribute. I mean, we're not gonna solve and magically, like the Messiah, make a better world, but if we work in teams with teachers, focusing on the students, we can definitely make a contribution.
Closing quick one. How do you make a presidential campaign game? And have you tried Not a Hero?
Okay. I heard of Not a Hero, but I haven't played it. I grew up in the 70s on a fascist dictatorship. So some of my family members were in jail for political reasons. I mean, it was insane. And to me, it was like, well, I was born in that time, so to me it was normal, even if it was really messed up. So politics, it's part of my DNA. And one of the advantages of having been born in a tiny country is like there were no game studios when I started mine. So we started like winging it, improvising it. And politics was something that I always cared about. And I was like, why not making games about politics or about political campaigns? So when the Democratic Party, when Howard Dean was running for it, for the president against Bush, we're like, okay, let's give it a try. I mean, Howard Dean was the first candidate to get a blog, to get to raise funds online. So he sort of invented the campaigning techniques that later put Obama in power. Okay, the 21st century in campaigning, and part of it was having a video game to engage the players. Guess what? We designed it with Ian Bogos. He was in Atlanta. No, he was in LA at the time, I think, and I was in Uruguay. Nobody had done anything like that before. We did our best. It was a success in the sense that it got tons of attention and tons of people motivated. Of course, the candidate did not win the election, but then I did a campaign game for the Uruguayan election, and they won. I don't think they won because of my game, but being part of a political campaign, it was an amazing experience, and it's also just another element that shows that there's no limits to games, because games are not entertaining. They can be part of entertainment, but games are a way to understand the world. Play is the operating system, of learning. Kids play, and playing they learn the toughest, most difficult things. To talk, to learn a language, to control their bodies, and to socialize. Those are really, really difficult things, and you just try an error. So play and learning go together, and that's something that we have to understand, and our culture is going to be way more rich the more games and play and toys we develop.
Thank you, Gonzalo. We are learning a lot, and your answers have been indeed like a lecture. Thank you very much.
Well, we still have to be learning, and we have to figure it out and find more answers. Never stop, keep leveling up. Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure.